Yes. Also, okay. Sorry, guys. Anyway, what's up, Dayton Bulldogs with another video. And tonight, we will be doing a reaction to a brand new film theory video. And this one will be Film Theory, the most scariest YouTube channel just got doggo. Let's see and find out what this will be about. We always knew there was a scary YouTube channel, but we never... Don't know why we never looked, but we didn't. I guess we weren't interested or something. But yeah, if you like the reaction, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell us what you want us to act next. Hit the bell icon so you get notified whenever we upload posts and go live on Daily Bulldog. 3, 2, 1, let's see and find out what this will be about, and let's go.
Boisvert is hands down the creepiest series we've ever covered on Film Theory. Between its skin-crawling animation, the terrifying subject matter it covers, and the horror it explores without any jump scares, Boisvert will stick with you. And believe it or not, but this one has a happy ending. Hello, internets! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's trapped inside of a small room. Please help. The only way I can get out is if you'd be so kind as to hit that subscribe button. So help a brother out. So a couple of years ago, a new analog horror series hit the deepest, darkest corners of YouTube and took the internet by storm, with a lot of people calling it the scariest YouTube channel ever. This is Boisvert, or Boisvert as I think it's actually called, and this has to be one of the most unique projects I've ever had the privilege of taking a look at. We did a theory about it back in 2022. It was actually one of my first projects as creative director for Film Theory, where we broke down the first arc of its cryptic and creepy storyline. Yeah, believe it or not, but buried in this avant-garde animation and creepy video filters and ARG elements, there's a plotline that tells an incredibly compelling story. And though you should just go check out that old theory if you want the TLDW, Boisvert is a metaphorical story about the depression many of us were feeling during the COVID lockdowns, where those darker feelings literally manifested as monsters haunting our main character, Antlers Guy. The most prominent of these was the triangle-headed Room, who represented the darker thoughts Antlers Guy had after being trapped in, well, his room for so long. This eventually evolves into another dark feeling, the Complex, who bombards Antlers Guy with just torrents of despair. Eventually, with the help of his dog companion Optimism, Antlers Guy is able to confront his fear of not being loved. He's able to find a way to overcome his darkness and coexist with it to move forward, all by reaching out to others when he's in his darkest place. Boisvert was awesome. It was the perfect sort of series to make a theory about, with a unique visual style that implemented everything from hand-drawn animation to rotoscoped live-action footage to surreal collages to create its world. And the creator didn't stop there.
Okay.
Even when we did our last theory, there were several other videos in the series that started a new story arc. And the creator has continued to experiment with both narrative and filmmaking techniques. Seriously, later videos add in stop-motion animation, 3D renders, and action scenes with a moving camera more akin to a blockbuster film than a home movie. And so, since it's been a minute since this next story arc has found its conclusion, I figured it was time to return to this series with a new eye and break down this story. Something that I'm going to
Yeah, makes sense. No doubt.
the Covenant arc. But it's here where I want to say that Boisvert gets into some pretty heavy topics, including mental health struggles like depression, anxiety, isolation, and self-harm. If those are going to be difficult for you to watch, hear, or think about, it's totally okay if you want to sit this one out. But just like with our first theory, I promise that everything turns out okay in this one. Yeah, believe it or not, but this is a story with an uplifting message, even if it's dressed up in this dark imagery and ideas. So if you're down to explore this breakdown...
Scary, berry, very, happy, merry, very, pepper, berry, berry. No cap. We got to react to it no matter what. Also, nothing is too scary for us. Nothing is too funny for us. Nothing is too upsetting for us. We can react to it all, no cap. Like,
of the human psyche and its
No care.
Darkest corners? Well, turn the lights off and pull the blanket over your heads, loyal theorists, as we dive into Boisvert. Oh, and hey, just to mention this up front before we get too much further, I later learned that some of the characters have canonical names that we didn't use in our first theory. For example, Antlers Guy is actually named Oriole, and the character we called Optimism is also called Dogtooth by the community. So we're going to be calling the characters by those names just to keep things
Okay.
consistent with the rest of the fan base. They're up.
Yeah, that's true.
Wasn't a great place to put that in the intro, so it's going here, okay? Cool? Cool. We mentioned this in our last theory, but clinical depression isn't something that you just magically cure. It's not something that you defeat and move on with your life. It's something that you manage, that you learn to live with, but it can stay with you. There aren't a lot of stories that deal with the direct aftermath of battling that depression, but Boisvert tackles that head on. We see this in the first video after the complex arc ends, Ashes.mp4, where Oriole has started beating himself up again after working on his next project. He even briefly reverts
Okay.
back into Room, backsliding slightly into more depressive episodes. And in the video narrowing, Room has completely taken control again as Oriole is wrapped in barbed wire. Dialogue in this video straight up says, quote, "As hard as it may be to believe, he is still burning." This continues the burning motif from the first arc, which straight up has a video called burning.mp4, and yet, funnily enough, even in that feeling, there is some hope. The description for burning.mp4, one of the first videos in the series, says, quote, "I have been reduced to ash." And the description of ashes.mp4 reads, "What comes after ash." So even through that pain, there is something on the other side, even if it takes a bit to get to, which will be the big theme of this story arc coming up. Now, the sort of pain that is the engine for so much of history's arc can come from so many places. But you don't have to face that pain alone, thanks to ZocDoc, the sponsor of today's theory. I think everyone's dealt with the type of pain we're talking about, right? Whether you have an injury or a sickness, or even just struggles with your own thoughts. A lot of the times, it can be debilitating. It might feel like the only thing you can do is make art about it. I know I've been there before. Since taking care of myself took a lot of time and effort to find doctors to help soothe that pain. But thankfully, you don't have to deal with fixing it all on your own. The solution is simple, actually. ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click instantly to book an appointment. They don't provide...
I'm gonna ZocDoc my girlfriend. Just kidding, nigga.
do the care themselves, they connect you with the professionals who know what they're doing. From dentistry, eye care, skin
Nice, okay.
care, and most importantly for today's topic, Boisvert, mental health, and nearly everything in between. ZocDoc makes it easy to book in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare professionals. With ZocDoc, you can filter for doctors by insurance, location, and specialties, and see reviews by verified patients so you can choose the best, most convenient care for you. When you found the doctor you need, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and instantly book it with just a few clicks. Plus, ZocDoc helps you get appointments fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even score same-day appointments. And there's no need to call a doctor's office and wait on hold either, especially if you hate talking on the phone, because ZocDoc lets you do everything online. So if you want to stop...
Yeah, that's good for people that... Yeah, I get it. Don't really want to do stuff by talking to people.
Putting off appointments and get the care you actually need from real professionals, go to ZocDoc.com/thefilmtheorists or click the link in the description to find a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring this theory.
But one thing probably doesn't... I mean... Probably one thing it doesn't stop you from doing is that if you don't like talking on the phone, actually talking to your doctor in person. Or maybe there is. You can always text. I mean, I can give you a phone number. Probably you can text the doctor or anything. So, but that would make sense, to be honest. No cap like this.
And let's get back into the creepy world of Boisvert. Anyway, the rest of Narrowing features a strange, video game-esque dialogue sequence between the complex and the viewer. Though I believe the viewer has taken the point of view of the complex's old adversary, the optimistic Dogtooth. Why? Just take a look at some of the dialogue options here. They're all openly hostile towards the complex, and specifically, the description to find a top-rated doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for sponsoring this theory. And let's get back into the creepy world of Boisvert. Anyway, the rest of Narrowing features a strange, video game-esque dialogue sequence between the complex and the viewer. Though I believe the viewer has taken the point of view of the complex's old adversary, the optimistic Dogtooth. Why? Well, just take a look at some of the dialogue options here. They're all openly hostile towards the complex, and specifically, quote, I will bite off the entrapped limb. That's something that dogs and wolves have been known to do when trapped by hunters. But then that begs the question, why is Dogtooth having this chat with Complex, its enemy? Well, Complex explains that Oriole is no longer having his pain numbed, and despite their formal rivalry, both want to crush Oriole's pain. There are messages hidden in American Sign Language throughout this video, telling us, quote, the question they asked him remains unanswered. He has moved past me, not beyond me, end quote. This means that despite the complex having been defeated, it's still part of Oriole and wants to help. So the two form a sort of uneasy alliance, working together hand in hand. Tentacle and paw, whatever, you get it. By the video, A Love Letter, we get yet another incredible musical track as Dogtooth hunts down Room, hoping to cut the despair out of Oriole, intent on saving him by doing so. Honestly, the theme of cutting off darker parts of yourself is a recurring part in this story, since the battle features the Bible verse, Matthew 5:30. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. But the Room overpowers
If I send it, you can buy on Timu. You can buy something on Timu.
It will not matter when we sing. This is the only way in which it matters. What Room is saying here is that everything Oriole is doing, the things he says and the art he makes, they only have meaning if they're rooted in his pain. That's a very dark way to look at this sort of expression, but it's a common way people have looked at the tortured artist archetype over the years. Returning to the fight, Dogtooth and Complex fight Room, though the Complex loses its head during the battle. The Room is driven to the brink of death before the angel once again appears, questioning why Room continues to live in despair, only for the Room to say that he doesn't deserve anything better. I am nothing. When the angel asks what has become of his songs and his joy,
I lost my love on the mountain above. It never returned with me above. Let's get back into the reaction now. Let go, everyone. 3, 2, 1. Let go.
boy, Room says that they're forfeit. He has no interest in uplifting art, and instead he wants to forever be negative. But that is the wrong answer. The angel says that there is nothing left for them to say, and Dogtooth finally defeats the Room by stabbing him in the back. He then approaches the Room and holds up his hand, forming the American Sign Language symbol for I love you. Messages in French then flash on the screen reading, there is only one happiness in life. It is to love and be loved. Don't hide anymore. Stick the knife in your throat. This is how we go. And that right there is the message of Boisvert distilled down into one sentence.
Well, good then.
It's to love yourself and allow yourself to be loved, no matter how dark things appear to have gotten.
Well, yeah, that's kind of true, no good.
But of course, that's not the end to this story. Honestly, those videos felt more like a wrap-up to the first arc we covered in our last theory, or some sort of transitional narrative between stories. Something further driven home by a QR code at the end of a love letter that leads to another secret video with a lot of hidden meaning. Much of this is very self-reflective from the creator. Like, for example, the title of the video is actually the end of an imager link, taking us to this image. Half of it is the script from the very first Boisvert video, but the other is a letter from the creator to himself, reflecting on the series and his own struggles with mental health. But now, he's looking forward, and tons of other secrets in this video point towards that. Like, first off, a strange paper-headed design is shown to come over the silhouette of a man. That will become very important, trust me. On the side, a message flashes reading, "And what of your love? And what of your fear? And what of your trust?" While also referencing the Bible verses 1 Peter 4:12 through 14, Isaiah 41:23, and James 4:13 through 14. I'm not going to read them all out, but I'll put the verses up on screen. And regardless, they all speak about tests, ordeals, and questioning where life goes when it's very fragile. And finally, a note at the bottom reads, "I have made a covenant, and now I could fall." Clearly, wherever this story is going, it's leaning way harder into religious overtones. So let's jump into the new part of the narrative, shall we? The next chapter is what we're going to call the Covenant arc, since it introduces a brand new character named Covenant. This is the guy with the strange origami head we mentioned a second ago. In Christian tradition, a covenant is the word often used to describe a promise between God and man. Think like the Ark of the Covenant. So here in Bois Vert, at least at face value, covenant seems to represent a commitment to a greater power, a promise for the main character to get better, to strive to be the best he can be. And to facilitate this, Covenant now oversees this world as, like, a sort of computer system, acting as a firewall to purify the self and secure the system against breaches, or lapses into negativity. We see this most clearly in the video www.blind, where all of the visuals and dialogue seem to be inspired by computer hardware and software.
We restarted every system. We rechecked every gateway, every access point.
Plus, this video and its description are just covered in secret messages written in binary and hex code, which is a very computery sort of code to hide messages in. Now, you might hear that this Covenant system is acting as a firewall and think that he's shielding Oriel's psyche, but that couldn't be further from the truth. One of the first things that the Covenant notes here is that Oriel has always known the burning sensation of pain and struggle, and that the Covenant doesn't think that's a bad thing. That's reflected in those hex code and binary messages, but also here in the dialogue.
Perhaps it is hard to believe, but all you have ever been is burning. It is nothing short of beautiful.
It's also not a coincidence that this is said against the imagery of a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. The point being made here is that pain doesn't have to be destructive. It can also be transformative. The Covenant is trying to get our main character to accept pain and give it meaning, rather than just swirling down the drain of negative thought. But that doesn't exactly vibe with Dogtooth, who is determined to conquer and defeat that pain. We see this in the video Angels Fall, with the dog lashing out, even at the angel, questioning how it could permit this pain. Cue another great cinematic fight and another musical
Okay.
banger, but that's cut short when the Covenant shows up. It whisks Dogtooth away to some strange room. It almost feels like a pocket dimension, where it uses American Sign Language to say, "You more than story." It then warns Dogtooth to be careful before leaving him here in this strange void. To me, this seems like Covenant sees his duties as compartmentalization. He's taking all of the different parts of Oriel's psyche, Dogtooth included, and putting them in their own boxes to avoid as much internal conflict as possible. He's locked a room out of the system by putting him in, well, a room, and Dogtooth here is in the metaphysical doghouse. And this is allowing Covenant to rigorously maintain the system that is Oriel and the harmony that that provides. But what did Covenant mean there when he said that Dogtooth was more than just a story? Well, that's basically the new theme of this arc, and it's all about exploring the difference between your true self and the story that you tell yourself about who you are. This is actually really driven home in a secret hidden in this video. At one point, the angel opens up its mouth, revealing a QR code leading us to an unlisted video that's just 20 minutes of blackness. But about 14 minutes in, a link appears in the bottom right corner, directing us to this image, which reads in part, "You are more narrative than man. God is proud, and I am sick." And back in the www.blind video, Covenant reinforces that a person can be more than they think they are.
There's so much more to your fundamental construction than what we'll be given credit for.
There's even a song that plays in reverse in Angels Fall that says,
"It's a hard, tough pill to swallow, but in time you will see that there's so much more of me."
For some, however, that narrative becomes a prison, a box, or room that contains them, with that constructed version of yourself ultimately taking on a life of its own, separate from the real you. We see this happen literally in the video Painless, where an artificial person is assembled on screen and then comes to life before being set loose on a constructed paradise, attacking various animals and disrupting the balance of this place. Even the conversation happening over all of this video is about someone trying to convince you to buy into a false reality because it's one that lacks pain. You don't have to hurt here, but the listener refuses because that lack of pain and hardship is a part of life that he
I have some secret videos. Yeah, this one it is like that. But no one, yeah. No one knows about.
uses to deny. This gets a little confusing, but this constructed self comes across something that has to represent the true self. A suffering self, entangled in barbed wire that we've seen represent pain in this series. But thankfully, there is hope here. The constructed self draws a key out of its hand and sticks it into the suffering self. Now, this might sound like a bit of a stretch, but this key, it's a reference to the pain of crucifixion. I mean, just think about it. This video literally opens with a nail being driven through a hand and a key being drawn from the hand. And rapidly scrolling text at the bottom of the video reads, "If I am here to tell you a narrative, consider this an explanation of my shorthand. The event of crucifixion is pain wholly and inextricably. Pain, not ritual. Follow where it will guide you, where story fails." This message is saying that the hurt we feel and the crosses we bear can lead us down better paths. It might even carry us further than the narratives we create about who we are and about who we want to be. Why? Because those narratives keep us in a box.
Get the Freddy Fazbear Crunch menu, only at Popeyes, before he gets you. Love that chicken from Popeyes.
This is further reinforced by the phrase "les indolents sont les perdus," which means painless or lost. Now, I don't think that this series is telling people that they should seek out pain.
Yeah.
That they should embrace masochism or anything like that. No, it's telling us that pain isn't so black and white. Even if the series is literally black and white, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. No, there are shades of gray too. The pain we encounter in our lives can lead us to change that we need, helping us carve a path forward into something bigger and better. And sometimes it's those that do not allow themselves to feel or process that pain that remain lost, stuck in their despair. That is why Boisvert is saying pain is the key. The hardships we endure let us transform, like that butterfly coming out of its cocoon. And this is shown when that constructed self puts the key into the real self. It allows the suffering to take on a new form. The true self ascends and becomes an enlightened being, achieving something greater by letting itself process the pain and hardship it's gone through. And yet, this constructed self still cannot help but attack this new enlightened being at the very end of the video. It's hard letting go of the stories we tell ourselves and move beyond them. And this actually takes us directly into the next video, titled Zero. Here, we return to Room, who has been trapped inside of, well, this room for ages since Covenant locked him up. But he's able to escape and eventually tracks down and kills a being known only as the Saint. Yeah, this is a pretty much a new character, and if I had to guess, it represents a religious force within Oriole's life, and it's deeply connected to the Covenant. However, Room immediately regrets killing the Saint, and a QR code appears on screen with a note reading just, "Please." This takes us to the unlisted video, -0, which sees the Room undo what he's done. He revives the Saint and then leaves, going to sit and have a phone call with, well, someone. Now, interestingly, Room's triangle head has turned
Okay. And someone, okay.
into a square here, similar to the one we saw on the Saint. Now, to be honest with you, the phone call Room has here is intense. Like, it's clearly very representative of very real sorts of conversations people going through mental health crises often have. But
Well then, okay.
I'm happy to say that it's someone reaching out for help, trying to explain the mental turmoil that they're going through and communicate that even though it will take work, they will be okay. And it's here where I want to jump ahead a couple of videos to what I consider the conclusion of the Covenant arc. This video has a strangely long name for the series. I have done everything for his sake. He is crying and the door is open. And in it, we see Oriole look outside at the strange, terribly confusing and intimidating outside world, and he leaves. He leaves the comfort and security of his home and ventures outside. And you know what? It's terrifying, it's disorienting, and not necessarily a pleasant experience. But he does it. And isn't it just full circle that Boisvert as a series started as a representation of the depression felt from the COVID lockdowns, and now its main character has been able to overcome his fears and return to the outside world. It's just beautiful when you think about it. Eventually, Oriole collapses before the image of a deer and says, "We could leave." And that's correct, he can leave. Even with all of his pain and his baggage and the narrative about himself that he's tricked himself into believing, he can leave. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's saying this to a deer, a creature that would have antlers, just like Oriole, and is the truest reflection of what an antlered animal would look like. This is his truest self, finally set free, even if it took so much work and pain and trust to get there. So there are all of the main videos in Boisvert's Covenant arc, but what does it all mean exactly? I mean, there's just so much packed into the series. Even with this 4.5-page breakdown, I feel like I had to leave out a ton of cool details and smaller puzzles and so much. For example, the video Tell Them is basically a super sick music video that shows the Covenant system straining to maintain order as old enemies and darker thoughts like the Complex try to sneak back in. There's also a recurring character called the Knight, which has a knight chess piece as its head that comes in a couple of times. I'm not entirely sure what's up with this guy, to be honest. Like, he might represent some of the darker parts of religious faith that can damage your optimism, but honestly, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this one down in the comments. It's an especially cryptic part of an already incredibly confusing series. But all of that said, what is the message of this part of the series, of this arc? What is it trying to tell us? Well, the creator of Boisvert clearly has a deep understanding of the struggles many of us face with mental health. He's been able to take the metaphorical demons that so many deal with in depression and anxiety and externalize them. And this arc is telling us that the pain that you deal with, if you struggle with those issues, that pain is not for nothing. Like, I cannot stress enough that if you are battling depression, anxiety, or any other mental health issue, I'm so sorry that you have been burdened with that, and I know all of us wish that you weren't. But you can channel that pain into something else, something positive. You can use that pain to empathize with others, to improve both their suffering and your own. In the series, that's represented by the Covenant, the promise for improvement, and in the end, it even gets the room to reverse course and embrace trying to be a better person, a better human. Boisvert uses very religious ideas and imagery to get that idea across, but it doesn't have to be that. It can take any form you wish as long as it's true to yourself. So, just like the first arc of Boisvert was encouraging you to reach out if you're struggling, this one is asking you to do the next step, to communicate your feelings so you can build a better tomorrow for yourself and for others, one small step at a time. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory, Weapons is the most terrifying horror movie in years.
Okay. That will be the end of the reaction. If you like the reaction, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want us to react to next. Stay on board. I'll see you all in the next video. We are out.